Do we already know our boundaries, or do we need to make them or find them out?
No, we do not know our boundaries. We do need to work to find them out. And that's everybody. That's not, forget what I just said about people that struggle to communicate their boundaries. Everyone struggles to know their boundaries. Everyone.
Everyone has boundaries that are there. They just don't know them yet. At least that's my experience, because I'm that person who is slow to learn things about myself. So it's usually after multiple boundaries being crossed or multiple things upsetting me that I then realize that makes me upset. And then I have to take time to figure out why it makes me upset. And then I can figure out, okay, it's just me or it's because this is a boundary.
Yeah.
And I need to communicate with this person and let them know that that's not okay.
So that's one side of not knowing your boundaries. You're on the side of it needs to almost happen before I'm even going to become aware that I need to do investigation. That's totally legitimate and one side. There's also a group of people, and I probably would say I belong to this. I know others that belong to this group, that we give other names or we give other prescriptions to our personal boundaries, and so are also ignorant to them.
Explain that.
So we will have a boundary be crossed, and I could see somebody in this persuasion looking at it as a personal attack and saying like, I gotta go on the offensive and I gotta crush this person because they attacked me. And it's like, they didn't actually do anything that bad. They just crossed a boundary that you were unaware of. But you're taking it as they attacked me.
Right.
Like they're coming at me. And it's like, no, they definitely made you feel unsafe, but they didn't do anything worthy of an offensive on your part.
Right.
They just crossed a boundary that you were unaware of. You know, it comes in a lot of different forms, but I think the unawareness reaction can spurn a lot of negative conflict that doesn't need to be there because of that unawareness, because of that unknown boundary that we have in our lives, but we haven't investigated. Just for example, like it definitely has helped me a lot to understand my emotions better, to understand my boundaries. If you don't understand your emotions and investigate why you're mad or sad or fearful of something, you'll struggle to know where your boundaries exist in your life. For me personally, that was a huge struggle where honestly, I would be very defensive about something, or I'd be very on the attack about something that I was just fearful of. And that's more emotions based, but there also probably existed a boundary within that fear that was being crossed by a situation or a relationship or something going on. You have to almost get through those layers of emotions and investigate those to actually understand what really that boundary is that made you feel unsafe, that made you feel fearful, that made you angry.
Yeah.
You know, because anger is a secondary emotion. Usually you're afraid of something or you're sad about something, and that's causing you to get angry.
Yeah, that's good.
We got to do that kind of deep below the surface investigation to actually discover what our personal boundaries are.
Yeah.
For people like me, like I said, there's probably two ways.
I think that's true for anyone, what you just said. Whether it's for boundaries or something else, a lot of us are going to be defensive and on the guard when we're afraid of something. And it takes us slowing down and figuring out, why do I feel this way, to get to the root of the issue, whether it's a boundary issue or you're just afraid of losing something.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whatever it is, you have to go down and figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
But I think everyone's like that, is what I'm saying.
I think everyone's like that. Everyone has a personal boundary that is not investigated. Everyone. It's either the people that kind of go into a shell and have to do some reclusive self-discovery, or there's people that lash out and are like, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
And then maybe discover that someone had just crossed a personal boundary.
Yeah.
So there's different ways that we're reacting that should point us to the fact that probably a boundary was crossed that we were unaware of.
Yeah.
And knowledge of that, just like the more I learned about my emotions, gave me insight into ways I was perceiving the world incorrectly. I was perceiving my life incorrectly. Just knowledge of what's actually going on in my with my emotions, changed my perspective, and gave me insights into my own life that I was not perceiving beforehand. And it's the same thing with boundaries. As long as you are listening to this and you have knowledge of, I need to be aware of my personal boundaries, you're going to discover them more easily.
Yeah, that's true.
Just awareness that they exist now. Because some people are like, wait, I have personal boundaries? I mean, if that's the main thing that you get out of this podcast, great.
Yeah.
Great. That's a huge first step.
Maybe you're good at maintaining your boundaries, and so you don't think about them too. That could be it.
Right, but maybe you don't communicate them well.
That's true.
So there's always room to grow. You might know them for yourself, but maybe you suck at communicating.
Yeah.
And you need to grow in that communication so that the other person in relationship, that way you're not just like, oh, they always cross my boundaries.
Yeah.
And then you know it, but they're sitting there like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong in this relationship because you never told them.
Yeah, how would they know?
You know, that's unfair too,
to just
be holding people to expectations that are unspoken.
Yeah. One more thing to add too, and tell me what you think about this. It's helpful as well to know your past when it comes to boundaries, because sometimes certain actions or certain conversations or the way words are spoken that led to crossing boundaries in your past that happened all the time, when then it happens now in the present when you're an adult and out of your parents' house, and you see a pattern, you might get all defensive and like angry when you're now in control and able to set a boundary and communicate that well so that it doesn't happen again. And so you can avoid getting all tense and angry and ready for a fight because you know yourself and you know, oh, that's a trigger for me, or I know why I'm reacting that way. And now I can communicate what I don't want this person to do.